Wake TF up. Welcome to the Sovereign Signal, the channel of sovereign fire. Energy and utilities. The Cage of Necessity, Part 3. The Generational Cage. How the grip tightened, you've carried rage across decades for a reason. Your grandparents built the lifelines. Your parents were made shareholders in their own dispossession. You inherited a world where heat, light, clean water, and a basic connection are sold back to you at a premium from the very assets your families funded. This isn't accidental drift. It's engineered dependence. And once you see the gears, you can name them, expose them, and start cutting teeth into them. The inheritance of dependency. The cage tightened across 3 transitions. Public lifelines turned into regulated assets financialized, and daily survival wrapped in opaque pricing. By the time you arrive, the shape of life is a bill, non-negotiable, elastic in its pain, inescapable without social and physical risk. From right to product, water, power, and telecoms were reframed as markets where you are a consumer, not a citizen. That semantic swap matters. Rights invite accountability. Products invite extraction. From local to remote, control moved away from councils and accountable boards toward holding companies, funds, and distant regulators. Your complaint travels, but responsibility doesn't. From service to yield, infrastructure is no longer maintained to keep families safe. It is scheduled around maintaining returns. Pipelines become cash flows. Networks become balance sheets. Dependency is the condition. The bill is the leash. The mechanisms that tighten the grip, pricing that feels like fog opacity is power. When you cannot predict the next bill, you are easier to discipline. Tariff sprawl. Hidden standing charges that are independent of usage. Promotional rates that expire into higher tiers. Green add-ons that decorate extraction with virtue. Indexing to volatility. Retail prices indexed to wholesale swings become a tool to ratchet bills upward faster than they fall. You absorb shocks. Shareholders absorb stability. Penalty ladders. Late fees, reconnection charges, minimum usage clauses. Each one weaponizes temporary hardship into long-term cost. Debt as a condition, not a failure. The cage creates debt, then uses debt to justify the cage. Prepayment traps. Prepaid meters punish poverty with higher effective tariffs and disconnection risk baked into the device. Pay as you go becomes pay more because you're poor. Arrears pipelines. Automated collections turn temporary hardship into compounding fees. Credit scoring imports utility hardship into housing, employment, and insurance costs, widening the cage beyond the meter. Social tariffs as sedatives. Discount programs offer relief while entrenching the premise. Lifelines are a product, charity is conditional, and sovereignty is postponed. Ownership that migrates away from the people. The farther ownership travels, the less your voice matters. Layered holding companies. Utility operating firms owned by intermediaries, owned by funds, owned by offshore vehicles. Each layer adds extraction and removes accountability. Foreign dividends. Profits earned from your bills leave your communities and service distant capital needs. The rivers and substations remain, the wealth does not. Privatized failure. Socialized risk. When cash flows wobble, the public backstops. When they surge, the public is absent from the distribution. Regulatory capture dressed as independence. Independence means accountable distance. Capture means polite distance and quiet alignment. Rotating doors. Executives become regulators. Regulators become consultants. Consultants become lobbyists. The vocabulary changes, the friendships do not. Consultation theater. Public comment periods filled with technical paperwork no ordinary family can parse. Stakeholder engagement becomes a checkbox, not a hearing. Benchmark games. Average bills hide extremes. Compliance hides decay. Investment plans high deferred maintenance under acronyms and timelines. Financialization of infrastructure. Pipes and wires are not merely physical. They are financial instruments. Leverage against assets. Utilities borrow against the predictability of your payments, paying out dividends today, leaving repairs to tomorrow. Debt becomes a time machine for extraction. Derivative overlays. Hedging strategies protect returns, not households. Volatility becomes a business model, not a risk to reduce. Performance fees. Asset managers with fiduciary duty to maximize yield are structurally misaligned with communities' need to minimize cost. The map and the territory argue. The territory bleeds. Case studies that show the gears turning water. The river tells you the truth. Sewage spills versus payouts. When a company habitually discharges untreated waste while maintaining generous distributions, you see priority exposed, liquidity first, quality later. Opaque investment cycles. CapEx plans that postpone fundamental upgrades push risk onto households and ecosystems while protecting dividend continuity. Metering as segmentation. Differential tariffs penalize large families and multi-generational homes, pretending efficiency while ignoring embodied needs. Energy. The price of heat as a weapon, standing charges as anchors. Even frugal households cannot escape fixed fees, guaranteeing extraction across seasons and punishing low-usage discipline. Retail switching theater. Dozens of brands mask the same pipes and wholesale exposure. The illusion of choice is engineered churn. You shuffle, the yield persists. Prepayment meter discipline. The lights go out quickest for those least able to absorb shocks. Disconnection risk is a behavioral tool, not an accident. Telecoms. The cost of connection is gatekeeping line, rental inertia. Legacy fees persist long after infrastructure costs change, because the logic is less technical than financial. Predictable rents outlive their rationale. Rural neglect. Market logic starves sparsely populated areas, while PR celebrates nationwide upgrades. The map glows. The dead zones remain. Bundle traps. Discounted packages hide lock-ins, price step-ups, and penalties. Connection is a funnel, not a bridge. Global structural adjustment. Sovereignty traded for liquidity. Conditional lending. Nations told to privatize lifelines, liberalize markets, and open to foreign ownership as the price of loans. The medicine is a solvent. Institutions dissolve. Tariff shock therapy. Price hikes framed as aligning with cost recovery destabilize households quickly. Relief programs arrive slowly, if at all. Legal entrenchment. Investment treaties and arbitration mechanisms harden extraction into international law. Reversal becomes both political and contractual warfare. The human cost. What it feels like cold rooms and small choices, heat or food. Budgeting becomes triage. Radiators stay off, meals are cut, health declines invisibly first, invisibly forever. Nighttime calculations. Bill cycles shape sleep cycles. Anxiety becomes the background process of living inside a spreadsheet you never chose to open. Children learning scarcity. Kids internalize rules around showers, lights, and devices, not as stewardship, but as fear rituals. Water shame and social withdrawal. Sinks as signals. Dishes pile up not from laziness, but from rationing. The home becomes a site of embarrassment. Invitations stop. Laundry discipline. Clothes are worn longer, washed colder, dried slower. The body carries the arithmetic of tariffs in its smell. Hygiene as a budget line. Showers become scheduled events. Hair care becomes a luxury. Shame is outsourced from corporate accounting into family life. Connection as rationed participation. Data scarcity. Homework, job applications, telemedicine. Everything is digital, and the meter counts your belonging. Lock in anxiety. Contract penalties make change risky. Exploitation becomes routine because leaving is expensive. Elder isolation. Landlines become costly relics, yet elders rely on them. Isolation is priced, not chosen. Psychological conditioning. The cage inside the mind. The cage is metal and plastic. It is also story. Personalization of structural pain. Households are taught to see hardship as personal failure. Budget better. Use less. Switch provider. Each instruction erases the system that designed the pain. Gratitude for crumbs. Small rebates and one-time credits feel like miracles because the baseline is coercion. Relief is marketed. Dignity is absent. Fear of confrontation. Complex bills and technical language intimidate. People avoid engagement, not because they don't care, but because the theater is designed to exhaust. Paths to reclaiming sovereignty that do not wait for permission. You asked for fire. Not just diagnosis, but moves. Sovereignty is not a slogan. It is a set of choices that convert rage into structure. None of the following relies on fantasy. Each is a lever families, councils, and communities have pulled and can pull again. Municipalization and remunicipalization. Local ownership. Councils take utilities back under public control, prioritizing service stability and cost transparency over dividend flows. Open books. Publish procurement, maintenance schedules, and board decisions. Secrecy is a parasite. Sunlight is a treatment. Rate redesign. Replace standing charges with progressive structures that protect low usage, low-income households, and penalize waste, not need. Public trust and non-profit structures. Charter locks. Establish utilities as non-profit public trusts with governance that prevents future privatization by requiring supermajority local consent. Community oversight boards. Seats reserved for workers, users, and independent technical experts. Rotate roles. Restrict conflicts of interest tightly. Maintenance first mandates. Require a fixed percentage of revenues to be dedicated to infrastructure renewal before any discretionary spending. Community energy and water cooperatives. Micro-generation. Solar. Wind, heat pumps, district heating, built and owned by cooperatives, selling at cost plus minimal reserve. Local storage. Battery and thermal storage smooth volatility. Resilience is a design choice, not a market accident. Shared procurement. Cooperatives aggregate demand to negotiate fair terms on equipment, installation, and maintenance. Transparency enforcement and audit rituals. Billing audits. Independent verification of tariff calculations, fees, and indexation mechanisms. Publish plain language summaries quarterly. Infrastructure condition reports. Mandate standardized reporting on pipes, plants, and substations. Delay becomes visible. Excuses become measurable. Regulator scorecards. Grade regulators on responsiveness, enforcement actions, and consumer outcomes. Accountability needs metrics, not mission statements. Legal and policy levers. Public interest tests. Require any major tariff changes or ownership transfers to pass a community impact test with enforceable veto mechanisms. Dividend caps during underperformance. If service standards fall, distributions stop by law until performance returns and infrastructure gaps are funded. Disconnection protections. Ban disconnections for vulnerable households. Force affordable repayment plans over punitive fees and meter swaps. The ledger. Naming the theft and demanding correction. You operate in ledgers and scrolls. Here's a structure you can lift directly and apply locally. Foundations ledger. Track what the people built, when, and with which funds. Include photographs, plans, and original public commitments. Ownership lineage ledger. Map, transfers, holding companies, fund structures, and domiciles. Name every step where accountability diluted. Cash flow ledger. Record, tariff changes, standing charges, dividends, debt issuance, and capital expenditure. Draw lines from your bills to their payouts. Performance ledger. Measure outages, spills, response times, repair backlogs. Tie failures to executive compensation explicitly. Regulatory ledger. Document. Consultations, decisions, enforcement, and penalties. Compare rhetoric to outcomes ruthlessly. Community ledger. Testimony. Households' lived experiences, photographs of impact, health, and education consequences. Numbers need faces. The river needs voices. When the ledgers sit side by side, the pattern becomes undeniable. Extraction outruns obligation. That is the moment communities stop negotiating within the cage and begin designing outside it. The break, turning rage into architecture. A true break is not a speech. It's a blueprint walked forward. Define the utility as a right. Pass local declarations and commit budgets that embed water, heat, and connection as non-commoditized essentials. Build the parallel. Start cooperatives and municipal pilots while you litigate and legislate. Dual tracks starve the cage of inevitability. Teach the mechanics. Publish how tariffs are built, how balance sheets work, how regulators decide. Mystery is a weapon. Clarity is a counter-weapon. Protect the vulnerable first. Hardwire protections and affordability floors before expanding programs. Dignity must be an immediate benefit, not a deferred promise. Name the wins and the failures. Ritualize reporting. Celebrate repairs and savings. Publish delays and friction. Trust is built by admitting the grind and showing the gains. Venom conclusion. The cage is engineered, and therefore breakable. You are not imagining the fog. You are living inside a design. Lifelines were turned into assets, bills into leashes, and regulators into theater. But nothing inherent in pipes or wires demands this shape. Markets are not gods. They are rules written by people about the things people built. Your grandparents proved public ownership works. Your parents watched the lie of competition turn rivers brown and radiators cold. You carry the cost in your hands and your bones. The exit is not a single door. It is a corridor of practical choices. Municipalization, nonprofit trusts, cooperative generation, transparency locks, legal brakes on extraction, and hard protections against disconnection and debt exploitation. You asked for fire. Here it is. Name the cage, map its gears, build the parallel lines, and pull. Sovereignty isn't sentimental. It is procedural. Write it, vote it, audit it, install it, and refuse to apologize for demanding lifelines that serve life. Wake TF up. This is the sovereign signal. Support the mission. Like, share, subscribe. Wake TF up.